When life gets chaotic and uncertain, our first instinct is usually to just retreat, right? To play it safe. But what if that's actually the riskiest move of all for our own happiness? Today, we're going to dig into this really powerful, kind of counterintuitive strategy for finding well-being, especially when things feel tough. Okay, let's get into it.
Think about it for a second. When the world feels totally overwhelming, that natural impulse is to just hunker down. We stick with what we know, we dodge any kind of risk, and we just cross our fingers and hope the storm passes. It's a completely human reaction. But here's the question. Does it actually make us happier?
And this really gets to the heart of what we're talking about. Could our deep-seated need for safety, for security, could that actually be holding us back from the very happiness we're trying so hard to protect? Is playing it safe, well, is it actually risky?
To get a handle on this, there's a term you should know: flight to safety. It actually comes from the world of finance. See, during a market crash, investors dump all their risky stocks, and they just run to the safety of, say, government bonds. But this isn't just about money. It's a life strategy. When our own lives get chaotic, we basically do the same thing. We dump social risks, we avoid career changes, we say no to new experiences, and we just retreat right back into our comfort zones.
But there is another way to respond to a crisis. And for that, we're going to look back in time to a leader who faced one of the biggest crises in modern history.
So, let's just set the scene. I want you to picture it. The year is 1932. The world is completely in the grips of the Great Depression. Hope is, in very short supply, and fear is just everywhere. And to put that into perspective, the unemployment rate in the U.S. had shot up to a devastating 23.6%. The entire country was basically paralyzed by uncertainty. This wasn't just a little economic downturn. This was a total societal breakdown.
And right in the middle of all that chaos, Franklin D. Roosevelt offered this really radical piece of advice. He said, "It is common sense to take a method and try it. If it fails, admit it frankly and try another. But above all, try something." So, in the face of just overwhelming fear, his answer wasn't to hide. It was to experiment, to do something.
So here's the really crucial part. How do we take that huge national call to action from FDR and translate it into a personal strategy for our own well-being? Well, we do it by adopting what we're calling an experimental mindset, and basically turning our lives into a personal laboratory.
Now listen, this does not mean you need a lab coat or a PhD, okay? A formal scientific study, that needs control groups and all kinds of complex methods. Your personal experiment? It's way, way simpler. You are the subject, and your life is the lab. The goal is just to try a new behavior, see what happens, and figure out what actually works for you.
Let me give you an example of how this works in a more formal setting. A 2022 study in the journal Affective Science tested out different ways to practice gratitude. They had some students write a gratitude letter, another group send a gratitude text, and some just post about it on social media. And then the control group just listed their daily activities. The results? All three of those gratitude methods led to higher life satisfaction compared to the group that did nothing. So that's pretty good evidence, right?
But, and this is super important, no single study is going to guarantee a result for every single person. Of course not. We're all different. But what findings like this give us is a really powerful starting point for our own experiments. It basically tells us where to look for things that are probably worth trying.
So, okay, where do you start? Well, a huge 2023 review in Nature Human Behavior looked at 57 different happiness studies. And what they found was that the most successful ones, the ones that really worked, consistently fell into just a few key areas. So let's use that evidence to build ourselves a really concrete plan. All that research points to a really simple, actionable plan. A 5-week experiment. It's so straightforward. Each week, you just try a different, evidence-based activity. So, week 1. You focus on gratitude. Week 2, social interaction. Week 3, mindfulness. Week 4, exercise. And week 5, getting out in nature. That's it. One thing at a time, focused and intentional.
Now, to make this a real experiment, you gotta track your data. But it doesn't have to be complicated at all. A simple little table just like this will do the trick. Every day, just jot down a rating from 1 to 10 for your mood and your life satisfaction. This is what transforms it from just, a vague effort into a real experiment where you can actually see the results for yourself.
Okay, so let's be real for a second. It's really important to acknowledge that this isn't always easy. Stepping out of our familiar, safe routines, especially when we're already feeling kind of low, can feel really uncomfortable, even unnatural. It definitely takes a little bit of courage.
FDR, he knew this really well. He warned that a lot of people, because they're fearful of change, would resist trying something new lest they fail to attain it. But here's the beautiful thing about an experimental mindset. There is no such thing as failure. If an experiment doesn't work out for you, you've just gathered some really valuable data about what's not the right fit. It's a total win-win.
And, there's this really fascinating social impact to consider too. When the people in your life, your friends, your family, see you actively experimenting and changing for the better, it just naturally sparks their curiosity. They might even get inspired to try their own little experiments. Your personal journey can become this quiet little gift to everyone around you.
So, what have we learned? We've seen that the safe path isn't always the happiest one, and that a little bit of structured experimentation can make a huge difference. Which really leaves us with just one final question. Looking at that list of proven ideas, gratitude, social time, mindfulness, which one are you going to try first? What's the very first experiment you're willing to run in your own personal laboratory?